is battling a little bit, but other than that, I'm all right. So
booze doesn't help.
I haven't drank in 2-3 days either, so I'm
Ooh,
trying.
What a good boy!
I know.
What a good boy!
Yeah.
So I got the schedule. Whatever you got going, you got going. I just at some point during NFL, we could even do it. Well, at any point, we could do it after we do the review, because that's probably when we'll say how disgusting the Jets are. I just have a little Joe Douglas thing because of a comment I heard today that Joe Douglas needs to answer for Zach Wilson.
and then I want to give props to somebody too after that. So
sounds good.
That'll be good.
All right, let me get this thing going. This is started here. There. Jesus. All right, here we go. What's up, everybody, and welcome to Bump and Run. I'm Pete Colasano, joined as always by the man with all the trivia that drives me crazy, Scott Bracey. What is going on, dude?
Peter, happy Friday. We were doing this to you live on a Friday for the first time in a very long time.
It's been a while.
A little scheduling conflict for us this week. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing okay. I think we discussed the idea of skipping trivia this week so that nobody gets embarrassed. Nobody feels bad. Not me, but the people at home sometimes feel bad if they don't have the answers.
Oh, I didn't get that text. I must
have. I didn't send it?
I
thought I sent that one to you. I must have forgot that.
Oh, man.
But, yeah, we're not doing it. So, what a great week we had last week with football. A lot of good games that we kind of had a feeling about did go the way we thought. The gambling went very well for me. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I was 4-0. Is that correct?
Let me say here.
I'm pretty sure, dude.
Peter was 4-0, and I was 2-1-1.
By the way, I was 4-0 the easy way. Like, they weren't even close.
Utah was kind of close.
But they were fair by 2.5. They won by 7.
I got 6 on here.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
What was the other game? There was some game.
It might have dropped to 2.5 once Rising wasn't playing, but they still.
Maybe that's what I saw.
Yeah, maybe.
Because I went back after the game. I'm like, wait, what was the line of that game? Because I kind of had 6.5 in my head.
Yeah.
And then I went and I saw 2.5. I guess I was wrong. Because I thought it was a nail biter.
Yeah, because I think it dropped. I think Rising was going to play all week, and then all of a sudden he didn't, and then I think the line dropped. And
so we'll get to all the games, and we'll talk about our winners and losers. So why don't we get started with some college football? We had some fun games last week. So what do we got?
Oh, you want to do college first this week? I like it.
Yeah, let's mix it up.
Week 4 review. Florida State beats Clemson in overtime, but I got to tell you, dude, it was a very ugly, sloppy game. Dabo stinks all of a sudden. Something's going on out there, man. I don't know.
So this particular game to me stinks of lost coordinators because they had the lead. They had the lead and they were unable to hold it. And this is something that we've pointed out with other teams, like when they come out and there's no adjustments, and that's what I'm seeing. There's no adjustments going on with Clemson, and that leads to me directly to coordinators because that's who's really doing adjustments at halftime.
Well, that's the first good point. The second point I want to point out is the kicking game. You get a guy off the streets, and he costs you a win.
Freaking Clemson.
This isn't Hollywood, dude. Like, first of all, like I it's a great story if you're at like Toledo.
Sure.
But, dude, 29-yard field goal in the ACC should be a winner. Misses the thing, going to overtime, make a bizarre call in overtime. Then, of course, I don't know, dude. Very weird. Dude, they outplayed Florida State for 59 minutes.
I totally agree. And so as much as I'm with you on condemning the coordinators for Clemson, and they are relatively new because their coaches have been hired by other schools as head coaches, this is the second time this year that Florida State has done this. So you have to give their coach, as much as we give some shit to the Clemson coaching staff, you got to give some credit here to the Florida State coaching staff because this is the second time they did this. This is exactly what they did against LSU in the first half of the LSU game. They didn't look so hot, and boy, they came out I actually turned this game off. Like, I walked away because to me, I'm like, wow, you're not gonna beat Clemson at home. That's what this is telling me. Like, the first half told me you're not beating Clemson at home. And once again, Florida State makes the adjustments. So with that said, this is a huge win for Florida State. They'll probably now be favored in every game moving down through the rest of the season. We'll see about if they play. Do they play Miami this year? We'll see. If they play Miami, it'll depend on where that game is.
I don't think so.
What the records are, but for the most part, Florida State will be favored the rest of the way. I don't think they're one of the top 4 teams in the country. Even though if they win the ACC, they'll be in the playoffs. I no longer think. I don't think if you're one of the top 4 teams in the country twice in the first 4 games, you're behind by double digit. You're behind by multiple scores and have to make it an incredible comeback to win the game. I just don't think you're one of the top 4 teams.
Well, that's a good point, too, because I was just going to say to you, how often great comeback again. I agree with you, but how long can you do this? How many times? Yeah,
I don't know how, and then you put in and you throw on top of that the week before the absolute nail biter against Boston College, who lost to like Northern Illinois or something like that. Like they're not elite. This is as close as Florida State to being the Florida State that most of us know and love from the past.
Yeah.
So you got to give Norvell some like real credit there, but they're not there. But it's still, I'm not going to, that's just on a playoff national championship level. Just on a game-to-game ACC, that's a great win. It's anytime you can go into Clemson and somehow pull off a victory, that's huge. So. And it was a fun game to watch, and especially the end of that game, I'm watching from a Florida State perspective. It's fucking awesome to watch. So it was a lot of fun.
Ohio State 17, Notre Dame 14 in an absolute thriller. Boring thriller, if you could say it that. It got thrilling the last 7 minutes or so. Boring throughout the first 40 minutes.
The most interesting part of this game was the Lou Holtz comment before the game, and then Ryan Day acting like a fucking petulant 15-year-old
lunatic.
Like you're gonna attack Lou Holtz because Lou Holtz, Mr. Notre Dame, thinks Notre Dame is gonna win and thinks it's because you're not as physical as them. So you're gonna take time after that game and not congratulate your players, but go after Lou Holtz. I don't even like Lou Holtz. I'm not even a Lou Holtz guy. But like, really?
Right, I agree with you.
Like,
I know. I mean, I was defending Lou Holtz all night Saturday night. Like,
it was embarrassing. That was really embarrassing. But it was a fun game to watch. I thought it was a great game, actually, even though it wasn't as high scoring. I thought it was a really fun game to watch.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you know who's in Ryan Day's head? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. They might have a winged helmet and they play North. I don't know.
Oh, my goodness.
Did Notre Dame
has something to do with it, doesn't it? Doesn't that have something to do with it?
Because
what was Lou Holtz saying? When Ohio State comes up against these teams, like the Alabamas, the Clemsons, and the Michigans, they struggle, which is true, by the way. And by the way, Lou Holtz isn't the first fucking person to say it. So the fact that you go after this 90-year-old slurring son of a bitch who was the Notre Dame head coach and is beloved in Notre Dame.
And he's at a Notre Dame pep rally. What do you think he's going
to
say?
You're a moron.
Come on, guy.
You're such a child. And I like Ryan Day. I think he's a really good coach. This is the first time that I'm like, wow. And you know what that screams to me? Pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
There's pressure coming from inside, from the donors, from the administration.
Dispatch.
Can't lose to Michigan again this year, dude.
Dude, I had Notre Dame fans text me
Absolutely
Saturday night.
crazy.
I just became a Michigan fan on November 25th. I hope they fucking stick it in their ass.
Mike Dean, Dean Dome Sports. What's
Mike,
up, buddy? Thanks for joining us.
Happy Friday, buddy boy.
I have to tell you, Scotty, I got a text from Mike yesterday saying, hey, what's going on? No show today? And I was like, oh, wow, you care?
That's very nice.
So that was nice.
Thank you, Michael.
Looking out for us. Looking out for the show.
Did Notre Dame blow it or did Ohio State win it?
Well, Notre Dame blew it.
Yeah.
I mean, no, make no mistake. Ohio State made some plays down the stretch. But Notre Dame blew it. Why are you playing like a prevent defense from the 50-yard line? You're not up by 2 scores.
That's only one thing I could point out. Dude, you're throwing the ball on second down, trying to run up the clock. What are you putting the ball in the air for?
Well, listen, I know they're putting their trust in Sam Hartman and all that kind of stuff, and I get that. But it was, to me, they blew it on defense. You've shut them down the whole time. Why are you going and playing weird? Why are you going and playing soft? You don't have that option here.
2 dropped interceptions too.
Oh
God.
Yeah, so they blew it. They had that game, and frankly, that's a season-making game. And now, because of that, they'll have a tough argument to make for being in the playoffs. So you should have won that game. You're at home. You got the lead. Fourth quarter, less than 2 minutes. You got to win that game. Period.
Colorado, as you called it, crushed.
I called this one.
Crushed.
So I got a couple of things to say about this one. So the game itself, I wasn't surprised in the least. Let us not forget, folks, they got rid of 75%. Dion got rid of 75% of his players. and brought in all new recruits, NILs, transfers, whatever you want to call it, like brought them all in. And it's a great story. Make no mistake. Like what he's already done is friggin' amazing, folks. And I looked over their schedule, Scotty. I see like 3 more wins the rest of the season, if I'm being honest, okay? That'll be 6 wins and bowl eligible. Dude, for anybody who's out there like, oh, big deal. Bro, this was like quite literally the worst team in Division I football last year. And to think that in one fucking season, Deion Sanders can turn them into a bowl eligible team is unbelievable. But the other side of that is like, they're not that good yet. Like they beat a TCU that's been decimated by the NFL draft and graduation. They beat a bad Colorado State team, which they should have lost the damn game. And they beat Nebraska, who sucks and loses to Rutgers. Like, let's be real. Like, they haven't beaten anybody of any consequence. So, and Oregon is a really, really, really good team and really good program, established, ready to go, year in, year out.
2 things. 1, America did him a disservice because now they're everyone's gonna balk. The media's gonna balk at 6-6, where it's a win for like people that know what's going on.
Like I'm gonna bring that up next. Go ahead. Yeah.
And number 2, if Shador makes it through the year, I'll be shocked.
Yeah, because their offensive line
he's getting pounded, dude. And it's
yeah, you're right, because their offensive line is bad. And the funny thing is, he is a passing quarterback. He's very mobile. Don't get me wrong, but he wants to throw it. So he ends up taking a few more shots instead of just taking off and running. Which at this point, I probably would suggest to him, like, bro, if it breaks down, go. Don't run to throw. Like, get the hell out of there and save your life. There
was one play he was rolling right, and he stopped, and then he cut back left, and the backside defensive end was, oh, dude, and he just cleaned him. It was like he turned. There was like face mask, like he knew he had for breakfast, dude. Like.
All that Heisman Trophy #1 pick talk goes right out the window.
Yeah.
So now here's the other thing I heard. I was listening to ESPN radio. I don't know if it was this morning or yesterday. I can't remember, and it really doesn't matter. It probably was yesterday. And they're talking about all the Deion haters out there. And I'm like, first of all, who are you even talking about? People that picked Oregon to win? Is that a Deion hater? I really want to know. And I'm saying this like to you. And I'm saying this to anybody who listens. Have you seen anyone on TV or heard anybody on the radio or any podcast who's like down on Deion and what he's done so far at Colorado?
I haven't heard anything on the media, but people I know, friends I know, have texted me and been like, well, it's kind of good that comes back to earth a little bit here. Like the hype was getting a little
different than hate. That's not hate. Like people, I don't know where it's all the Deion hate. And then I hear, because, what is his name? Dan Lanning had his little pregame speech about saying they're playing for clicks and we're playing for wins. And they took it as like, well, it's the good old boys. And here we go. It's because he's a successful new black head coach that didn't take the same route as all these guys did coming up through the ranks. That's not what it is, dude.
No,
I'm sorry to tell you. You know what it really is? Those statements and those comments that he made, those were really at the media, the mainstream media, ESPN, Fox Sports, CBS, because you guys put the Colorado on a pedestal. You guys made Colorado, oh, maybe Shador can be Heisman. Maybe they're going to win every game this year. Could they beat Oregon? Oh, he's the greatest thing. Why don't you, if you would have just pumped the brakes a little bit, then you wouldn't have painted a target on Deion's back. These guys have established programs. These guys have real programs. And you're putting Colorado, who has done nothing other than win a few games, which they've never done, which is fantastic, by the way. But they won a couple games against some bad teams, and now you're going to put them on the same level with like Oregon, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Ohio State. Come on, that's what they had a problem with. What? You know what I compared it to in my head? I wanted to call in, but I was driving and I didn't do it. Remember the early days of LeBron James? First gets to Cleveland and they start calling him King James. It's like, slow down, dude. Like, you're not the king until you're the king. Like, until you're crowned. Like, you got to win a championship. Like, so to me, this was much more of a statement towards the media of like, why don't you guys pump your brakes and actually pay attention to the teams that are elite before you start jacking off about Colorado. I thought that's how I took it as a former coach.
And second of all, he's a college football coach pumping up his kids with a pregame speech
in the locker room.
Exactly. Come on,
not
man.
really meant for
that should never get out anyway. I hate that stuff, dude.
Exactly. So I get it. Those guys, some of these coaches, they've come up from like small colleges and worked their way up to be position coaches, then coordinators, then head coaches at shit schools, and then they work. And Deion has every right to be the head coach of Colorado because of what he did at Jackson State, and the fact that a superstar like that would even take the time to coach kids and be a mentor. But he didn't do it that way, and it stings a little, folks. I'm just here to tell you. Like, think about you. I'm talking to everybody out there. Think about you and your job, and you got your people and your crew, and they've been in that business or industry for a long time, and you know who the good ones are and who the bad ones are, like who the people are that lift everybody up and who the ones that are kind of just along for the ride. And then someone just comes in out of nowhere, and they're now the supervisor, and they're telling you what to do as if they know what you guys have been doing for the last 10 years. And you got a fucking problem with that. Trust me, I know you do, because I've been through it myself. It's the same thing. That somebody just comes in, and now they're the big shiny object. I've earned this, and we're better. Pay attention to us instead. That's what went on. And they got shellacked. And let's be honest, if Oregon wanted to, they could have put 100 on the board.
And Deion handled it good. He goes, listen.
Absolutely.
And he goes, get me now. He goes, listen, I get it. Get me now. But this could be the last time. Listen.
He handled it perfectly. They beat us in every shape and form of the game. Offense, defense, special teams, we suck. And I agree. I even like that he said, like, but we're taking, we get us now because soon enough you ain't going to be able to. And that's fine.
He's been great through this whole thing. I got to be honest with
you. Fantastic.
Real quick, Penn State beats the shit out of same old Iowa. Iowa, dude,
they're just offenseless.
You know what? Kirk Ferentz is going to quote himself a job because he won't fire his son, an offensive coordinator.
He's going to have no choice at the end of the season, but
Lane Kiffin, your boy, sorry, can't beat.
Well, let me just say, do you think, after watching the game, do you think that Penn State is a top 6 team in the country?
Yeah, right now, definitely.
You do put them.
I think 6 good. I think 6, 7. Because I think you're right. I think Florida State's got to go down a peg just because I don't think they could sustain that. Although
they're not going to go down because they got the win on the road at Clemson.
I just mean in my brain.
In my main, in your mind.
But listen, and I'm a biggest Michigan fan, as everyone knows, and you can even argue Michigan shouldn't be up there because they haven't played anybody yet. But
you're going off of what we think.
Yeah, what we think, right? So
not because of what we see.
Listen, this is why everyone goes nuts early. It's all going to get fucking played out.
It'll all work itself out.
It always does. Everybody, calm down.
In fact, it's going to get a lot more muddled.
In the next 2 weeks.
Well, I'm just saying
the Pac-12 is going to eat each other like fucking like.
Yeah, because you're going to have probably two teams that are undefeated, and then 5 one-loss teams, and it's going to be like, okay, here we go.
I know.
It gets really good.
And then everyone's begging for the 12th team this year, and the next year everyone have 3 losses, and like, oh god damn it, like. Your boy Lane cannot beat Father Nick.
Not the best. Nope, not the best. I was a little disappointed in this effort. They kept it close for a little while.
I thought offensively they were disappointed. Defensively, they hung around pretty good.
That's what I said to you, right? I said this is probably the best defensive team that Lane has had there. Plus, this is not the best Alabama offense, not even close, that they faced. So, yeah, it was the offense that was disappointing, which is the one thing we expected. Like, they're going to score. Don't worry about that.
They did not look good.
So, yeah, it was a little bit of a disappointing game. And they got another tough one coming up this week. So,
in a game that we liked, a sneaky game, Wazoo hangs on over Oregon State too. What a great game!
I told you that kid from Washington State.
Ward. Cam Ward.
Cam Ward.
Yeah,
dude. It is so funny to me. Week in and week out, we're gonna say this every fucking week because it's so true. The Pac-10 or 12, whatever, is loaded with quarterbacks.
Yeah.
That game was actually a blowout, and Uyunglele King kind of brought him back very late. I mean, even late in the fourth, it was still multiple score game, and he brought him back. It ends up being a 1-score game. So, but man, both of those teams are very good. Don't take this Oregon State loss as like they're not good. First of all, Washington State is really damn good. And Oregon State is good. It was a road game for them, dude. They put 35 on, I think it was 30-something on the board for a road game. Like, hello. Watch both these teams this year. I'm telling you, Pac-12, there are going to be some upsets because nobody gets beat. No great team gets beat at home. But you're not always at home, folks. If Utah has to go on the road to Washington State, which I'm just making that up, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
I can't get over how fun the Pac-12's been.
It's the best conference. It's the most. You've got a great
dude,
word there. It's the most fun conference in the country right now.
It's not even close.
Fucking wide open.
Not even close, dude.
Like the offenses are wide open. It's great quarterback play. Hello. It's such a fun.
And then there's two games that I wanted to watch this weekend. They're bombing down like the fucking Pac-12 and some of it. I'm like, come on, man. I'm like all jacked up now and I can't watch a fucking game.
Crazy. Dude, I was watching that game. It was a real fun game to watch. Lots of offense. If you guys like high-scoring games, man, get yourself to an either Oregon State or especially a Washington State game.
You have anything else?
No, not specifically, no.
All right, we'll go to Week 5 preview. A decent week, nothing like last week, but we're continuing to build. Number 8 USC at Colorado, a 10 a.m. kick in the mountains. That's going to be fun.
So, what I expect from this game is a little bit. Now, Colorado's already banged up. And on top of that, we mentioned right from week 1, they're thin. Because, like I said, they got rid of a lot of scholarship players. They brought a lot in, but they're thin. But I do expect Colorado to play better. I'm pretty sure they're at home. I don't think they're going to win, but they're 22-point dogs. I wouldn't bet the game. It's not one of my picks.
No.
Because they're so thin. I just don't know if they can stand up to it. And I don't know that they'll ever be able to stop USC because the defense is already pretty bad. But I think USC defense is pretty gross. So I could see them scoring some points. I would just expect them to play better, frankly, because of Deion. I think he's going to have them in that mindset of this can't be who we are. And I think they'll play better. What that looks like, I'm not quite sure. I don't expect too much, but I think they'll play better.
Gun to your head right now, going into October tomorrow. How many Pac-12 teams and who would you have undefeated?
Oh, dude. Going into October?
Going into like the Pac-12 championship game. You think there'll be 2 teams that are undefeated?
I think it's going to be really
hard. The reason why I asked you that question is because USC's defense is going to cost them a game down.
Absolutely, at least one. Yeah. Like if Rising comes back, they're gonna struggle with Utah.
That's the Michigan Ohio State argument. That's the same fucking thing.
If USC is playing Oregon in Oregon, which I don't know, I don't know where they're playing that game, but if they were playing at Oregon, dude, that's a tough. And then the other side is Washington. Washington is so fucking good. We didn't even talk about them last week. They played Cal. Bro, they got weapons. Like there's no. I actually think their wideouts are better than Ohio State's wideouts, and that's an insane thing
because their quarterback's better.
Because their quarterback's infinitely better. Michael Penix is probably, I don't know if he's the front runner for the Heisman, but he's definitely up there. They are fucking loaded on offense. So if USC has to go up there, that's a tough call. Now, Washington has to go to Utah. I could see Washington losing if they had to play at Washington State.
I was just going to say, we haven't even mentioned our boy Cam Ward yet.
Or at Oregon State. Like,
crazy,
these teams are good. This is not I'm not talking shit here just for excitement. Like, these teams at home, Washington State, Oregon State, Washington, USC, and Utah, at home could be anybody in the country. It's just as simple as that. So, yeah, I guess to answer your question, there might be nobody undefeated in the
next week. Next week we're gonna do a little Pac-12 schedule. I'm gonna write this down now.
Let's take a look. Let's take a look. The big matchups looking ahead.
Where it is and when during the year. Pac-12.
Now we're assuming, of course, health. Everybody stays relatively healthy. They keep their quarterbacks in place. Again, Utah's doing this without their starter, without their 4-year starter.
Number 22, Florida at Kentucky. We said Florida saved their season. Napier got a little smoke off his ass 2 weeks ago against Tennessee. Kentucky, we've been fan of for a couple years now.
4-0 right now.
They're doing it again.
Is a really tough spot for Florida because, like you said, they were as low can be, and then they were as high can be. And I just think this is a tough spot. I'm not making a prediction. I don't have a prediction on it, and I don't have one. It's not one of my bets, but I just think it's a tough spot. Now, I will also say this. If Florida gets the win here, Kentucky's 4-0, dude. They're not a bad team. They're not an elite team, but they're not bad. This is a good Kentucky team for a few years now. If Florida wins this game on the road, that's a job-saving win. Because now you've done it against Tennessee. You've done it against Kentucky, like two really good teams. That's a job-saving win.
Number 24, Kansas at number 3, Texas. Is this a sneaky good game, or are we overhyping Kansas here?
Sorry, I lost my mic. Could you repeat that?
Oh, sorry, buddy.
I mean, I lost my earbuds.
Number 24, Kansas at number 3, Texas.
It's crazy that this is even a game we're talking about.
I know.
Kansas, right? Kansas?
Yeah, but sometimes Texas can sleepwalk a little bit too.
No, I mean Kansas is a top 25 team. You make it. I'm saying it's wild that Kansas. It's 2 years ago. What? 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
Last year, they were 5-0, and game day.
Yeah, but I'm saying 2 years ago, this was maybe the worst program in the country.
Oh, Les Miles last year. Oh, forget it. Oh my God.
So yeah, you're 100% right, dude. This is one of those games because it's at Kansas, right?
No, it's at Texas.
Oh, I was gonna say if it was at Kansas, it's one of those. But you're right. Texas has a way of like sleepwalking through these games that they think is a cakewalk, and it'd be a huge mistake. And here's why: they're not exactly the most explosive team in the country. They play really good fucking defense, so that's going to play in their favor. And they are at home, so they should win the game. But you're right. This is a prototypical spot that Texas just kind of like shows up, tries to mail it in, and maybe they win by a field goal late or something like that. They should win by like 20. What's the spread on that game? 22?
I think it's like 17.
17? Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a game that gets their attention. I think they show up early for it. I do.
Hope so.
I
hope so because college football is better when Texas is good.
Sure.
And we want to see them, still a viable contender down the stretch.
I get them as one of my Final Four teams, and right. I need it because Clemson shit their pants already.
Yeah, absolutely.
Number 13 LSU at number 20 Ole Miss. Interesting game here because last week LSU was very lucky to escape at home against Arkansas, who that game we liked. We put that on the board last week.
Yep.
As you remember during trivia, the Battle of the Golden Boot, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
And Mississippi, dude, this is what Lane does, right? Like he lays an egg against his buddy Nick Saban. Everyone writes him off. Then he comes back and puts 40 against LSU. Like it's just he's
that's the difference here. Is that LSU doesn't have the defense that Alabama does,
or they normally have, for that matter.
I can't put my finger on LSU just yet.
I can't either.
I don't like their quarterback very much. I know a lot of people do. I'm not there on them. I feel like Brian Kelly is a really good coach.
Did you see him last week?
He was second season.
He was getting that shade of indigo on his face again. He's not happy with this team again. I love when he turns violet. It's great.
This is a tough spot for them, man. On the road, is it do you know what time the game is?
I believe it's a night game. Let me see.
Night game. It's a tough spot. I would expect it.
6:00 kick. Interesting time out there.
Funny one. It'll be dark though. It'll be dark by the time that really
second quarter.
Going. Yeah. Second half too. Yeah.
Two more for you, bud. Number 11, Notre Dame at number 17. This is not a typo, folks. Duke.
I know. Dude. So this would have been. I had my picks whittled down to 4.
Fighting Nuviolas, as we say.
I had them whittled down to 4, and Duke was one of them. I like Duke in this game. I think Notre Dame is kind of licking their wounds a little bit. Now, my thing is usually like I'll say an elite team, a high-level team, a high-functioning, high-level team loses and gets embarrassed, they usually come back. I don't know that was an embarrassing loss as much as it was a top loss. Top losses sometimes you're flat the next week because you have a shit week of practice after a game you think you should have won. What I mean by an ugly loss is like you're favored by 5 and you lose by 25. You know what I mean? So I think this is a tough spot for Notre Dame. Let's not forget, Clemson went into Duke and got fucking boat raced. What was it, 28-3, 27, whatever the fuck it was. They got slant, 23-7, whatever the hell it was. They got beat. It wasn't like a close one. So, and Duke does have what I will call a top-level quarterback. Whether he has worked his way into being a first-round pick yet, I'll have to look at more film when the season's over and shit like that. But he's very good. I'll say that. He's a better quarterback than most of the teams in the ACC. So this is a really tough spot. This is, if Notre Dame wants to say they're one of the elite teams in the country, they have to win this game. And I think that's a tough one. I think it's a tough one. Think about it. Duke is favored by 5.5. What is Vegas telling you? More than a field goal here.
This is what scares me. I got a lot of things in my head I want to say. I don't know where I want to go first. Sam Hartman, obviously great player. I don't think Notre Dame used him right last week. I don't think they let him let the guy, dude. He's 6 years in. He knows what he's doing. He's a smart kid.
It felt like they kind of had the leash on him last week, right?
Definitely, and I didn't like that. I think maybe that helps him this week. I don't trust Marcus Freeman yet either. Last week proved that 10 guys on the field twice. What we just said with Freeman, although Mike Elko isn't exactly a household name either at Duke,
nope.
but
he's already built the resume. Undefeated, beat Clemson.
But then Notre Dame's coming off the hoopla game day. Last week? They do it again now this week. So they could, dude. There's a lot going on in this game, man. I think it's a
one newer coach has come up big in a big spot. Very few so far, but big spot against Clemson. And one coach, every time it's a big spot, they come up short, and that's scary. So Notre Dame comes up short in big spots, and this new coach, Duke right now comes up big. So that means a lot, man, because that's confidence, right? There's a lot of confidence going on there. But I will say this. The fact that Notre Dame has Sam Hartman, he is a former ACC quarterback, was there for Wake Forest just last year and the years prior to that. So he had some familiarity with this conference. I think that does help Notre Dame. Duke is a real football team, folks. This is a real football team with a real quarterback and some real players. So
yeah.
There's a reason they're favored by 5.5. It's not a field goal game. So what Vegas is telling you is if this game was on a neutral, like usually it's like a field goal. Like if it's a neutral site game, it would be a pick 'em. Then whoever's home would be favored by 3. Like that's kind of how you look at it. Home field gives you 3 points. They're not saying this is a field goal game. This is a 5.5 point spread. Like they're saying this is almost a touchdown favorite. That's saying something there.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in this game.
There is. This is a very interesting game. Now, the other side of it, if Duke does win this game, like I guess we could say they're supposed to. They're 5-0. Clemson already has a loss. You got like Florida State, Miami, and Duke are like fighting for ace. I mean, real teams. These are real teams. They're all ranked teams. So there is a new
and don't forget North Carolina.
Absolutely. You can't. I mean, I don't think they play good on a defense, but they got one of the best quarterbacks in the country.
That's what I mean. And they're undefeated, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Number 12, Alabama. Go to Starkville and play in Mississippi State. This has been a house of horrors for Alabama, I think.
This is not the 12th ranked team in the country as far as I'm
concerned.
No. So, that's out of respect for Nick Saban that they're even number
12. Who's played better? Who's played better right now,
great.
Duke or Alabama up to this point?
Oh, Duke has played better.
Right, that's what I mean.
Now, if you ask me if they played each other, who do I think would win? God, the quarterback play for Alabama is so bad, man.
Dude, I'm telling you.
Because my instincts would say, no, you got to take Alabama.
Of course.
The quarterback play is so bad, and they just don't have those elite receivers like they've had in the past. And their defense is good, but not great. This is just not a great Alabama team. I don't know what else to say. So if the game was in Duke, I might actually consider taking Duke. I really might.
I know.
Funny.
Yeah, let's see. Alabama can put another one together here after,
I suspect they'll win this game, though. I mean, I really do think they'll probably win this game.
Dude, they have no room for error anymore, dude. You got to win them all.
0.
You want to go to the NFL?
Absolutely. Let's hit the NFL.
NFL Week 3 review. I'll just start with my embarrassing team. The Broncos give up a 70 burger in Miami. We were sitting here last week going 6.5, 6. Why is that line so weird? Why is it? It should be like 11 or 12.
Dolphins, what did I tell you? I took Miami and I said I feel like a sucker. Right?
Yeah,
and be like they sucked me in, but I'm going to be the sucker anyway.
Now,
what can you say though?
Hear me. I mean, I got something to say.
Oh boy.
You're not going to like this, I don't think, but I haven't shit on Russell Wilson yet this year. He looks a little more comfortable. Dude, listen, I said this last week, and now it's even worse. Their defense quit on him, dude. I don't give a shit what you say. Dude, they were throwing no-look passes from the 4-yard line. It was like fucking backyard football, dude.
Crazy.
2 running backs scored 4 touchdowns 4 times each. Like, what are we doing, dude? Was it the Tecmo Super Bowl, for Christ's sake?
Dude, they rushed for like 300 yards. They had almost 700 yards of offense. Holy shit.
I hated Vance Joseph when he was our head coach. I hated him when he was the DC of the Cardinals. I hate him now. I hate him tomorrow. I'll hate him. The guy sucks. The fact that he still has a job is alarming. Sean Payton, I'm worried about. I'm not going to lie to you there.
I was just going to say.
I'm a little worried about Sean Payton as well.
But you got to have more confidence in him in the long run than Vance Joseph. He's got a better track record.
I do, and they got a couple guys out on defense, but Christ, they're not missing Micah Parsons and Champ Bailey here.
And it doesn't. I don't care who's out. It doesn't mean you get to give up 7 points.
Yeah, well, exactly. And Mike McDaniel, he didn't want to run up the score at the end.
It's crazy. They held back.
Goes, I didn't want to run up the score. Mike,
you already did.
At that point, go for the fucking record. At that point, I like the guy. I know he's weird and quirky. I like the guy.
I know
I
you
hate to say that over. He gave up 70 on my team.
And you know what's funny is you and I both know, and I think everybody in Denver knows, he's not trying to jam it up anybody's ass. I think it was all running. It was all rushing the ball.
It was crazy.
I mean, what are you going to do? Just take a knee for the fourth quarter? You got to play.
I guess he's that pissed off he didn't get an interview. He was the Bronco ball boy back in the day. He didn't get an interview. It was great.
Oh, shit.
But, yeah, that's really all I got to say there.
It's rough, man. Now, one thing I will say that we've said on this program many times, and I've said it for years, you're never as good or as bad as your last game. Now,
right.
And that goes for both of these teams. Denver is not the kind of team that's going to suddenly start giving up 70 points a game. And I'm going to be honest with you, folks. Miami's not going to be scoring 40 points a game or anywhere near 70. So it was one of those games. Shit went all in one direction. It all came downhill off of Miami and on top of Denver's head. And in the end, it's one loss. Just because it was 70 points doesn't mean it counts for any more than one loss. It was a bad, awful game. Clearly, they gave up, and it just went the way it went. But I may be saying that for a reason. Next.
The New York Jets have lost 15 straight to the New England Patriots.
Speaking of shit rolling
downhill.
And now
the floor is yours, my friend.
There's not much to say here. The defense played fantastic. And what's interesting about the Jets defense, because it's not your typical really good defense, they are much more of a bend but don't break defense. If you ever know, they give up yards.
Yeah.
Like they give up yards, they give up plays. What they don't give up are touchdowns.
Yeah.
They give up very few touchdowns. They'll let you play in between the 20s, but they just don't let you score touchdowns. And in a league that's all offense, that's probably pretty smart. But it can be a little frustrating because New England got a lot of first downs on them and kept the ball for a while. And then the opposite side of the frustration is as soon as the Jets got the ball, they would be 3 and out and give it back to the New England offense, and the fucking poor defense is back on the field. I told you guys a couple of weeks ago, it cannot go on like this for very long because that really good defense is going to become very average when they're on the field 90% of the time. And then the other side of it is just simple human psychology. If you can't score, you start to think, why bother?
Yeah.
Why bother stopping anybody or busting my ass when you guys can't score anyway? And this is the dilemma that the Jets have. So, it's so easy to say, bring this guy in, bring that guy in. Guys, do you realize how hard it is to learn a playbook, to get on the same page with your wide receivers, for a coordinator and a quarterback's coach to start to learn what your strengths and weaknesses are, what plays you like, where you like to go? This stuff is this is not basketball where you could just step on a court and start going pick and roll and you're going to be fine. Or you're a pitcher and you get traded and the next game you go out and you throw a no-hitter just because you got better shit than anybody else. It's not like that. It takes time to learn how to work with the players on your team. Think of Hard Knocks and all we heard from Aaron Rodgers. And all he was talking about was, we keep working, trying to get used to these guys, seeing what their strengths are, what they need, who I like, That took 6 months. I'm going to bring in Ryan Tannehill in and he's going to be ready to go in a week?
Right.
Come on, dude. It's just not realistic. It's not realistic. You're better off sucking cock with Zach Wilson for the next fucking 14 weeks and being a top 5 pick and go from there. It just is what it is, man. He's bad. And him and Justin Fields are the same exact player, except Justin Fields is a little bit bigger and faster. They both process reads like shit. They can find the first guy, and if the first guy in the read is open, they both throw fucking lasers. And I still say, watch some of the connections that Zach Wilson makes on some of these passes. You're like, holy shit! Like elite talent physically between the ears, and I don't mean intelligence. It's just processing speed. Both of these guys are the same. They don't go from 1 to 2 quick enough. They just don't. They don't find the open receiver quick enough. There were multiple plays again on Sunday where guys were open and they don't find him. It's the same with Justin Fields, same with Zach Wilson. They literally have the same problem. Elite physical skills do not process fast enough. I understand what the problem is here, folks, because this was my problem. It's why I didn't go any further as a quarterback. Because it's hard. Shit's coming at you at fucking 1,000 miles an hour, and that guy that's coming at you, he's coming to take your head off, and you weigh 330 pounds. It's hard. You have 3.5 seconds to make these decisions. It's fucking hard. You guys can't even make up your mind what you're eating for dinner in a half an hour. These guys have to make these really difficult decisions and reads in 3.5 seconds. So I'm not trying to pick on these guys. I'm just telling you what the problem is.
Do you have any comments about Joe Namath?
No. I don't like it per se. I don't like it per se, but it's Lou Holtz. It's the same thing as Lou Holtz. Joe Namath gets to say whatever the fuck he wants. He's the only good thing in the history of the Jets.
I agree.
So if anybody's got a problem with Joe Namath, fuck off. He's all I got. You're not taking down the only guy I got in the history of my goddamn organization. So fuck off. He can say whatever he wants. I don't necessarily like it, but I won't knock him.
Yeah.
Think of what this guy was in his 20s when he won a championship, and now he's in his 70s or almost 80, and he still hasn't even seen his team go to the Super Bowl again. He's frustrated too. Guess how he's talking like? He's talking like a Jets fan because he is. So he can say whatever he wants because we're all thinking the same goddamn thing.
Agreed.
Meanwhile, he supported Zach Wilson when he first got there. Like the kid, lots of talent, real athletic. Let's give him a chance. Let him grow. That was 3 years ago, guys. So he can say whatever he wants.
Yeah, and like you said, the week by week embarrassing what the offense looks like. It's just at some point it's going to blow somebody's top, and it blew Namath's top the other day. So I hate to tell you,
but it's not all Zach Wilson. It is Zach Wilson. It's just not all Zach Wilson. There are real problems on the offensive line.
It's a lot Zach Wilson.
Yeah, it's a lot Zach Wilson, but it's not all Zach Wilson. It's a bad offensive line. They had to move Elijah Vera Tucker to guard. They put Tittman in had to move Elijah Vera Tucker to tackle, and he had a pretty fucking bad game.
Did they move back? Did they move Becton back over to left tackle?
He played left. He had one or two bad plays, but for the most part, he's actually played pretty well this year. He's not.
Yeah. I was just asking because I thought I heard that. I wasn't sure if I heard that.
So this reminds me. Okay, so I heard this today, and I'm just going to bring this up and then and then I'm going to get it out of the way. I heard people on TV, radio, whatever the fuck it was, talking about how Joe Douglas needs to take account for the Zach Wilson bad draft and the Mekhi Becton bad draft. Okay, folks. First of all, let's talk about Mekhi Becton. Who out there knew that he was going to fucking blow out his knee 2 seasons in a row? Because when the guy's on the field, he's actually a pretty goddamn good tackle. He's a mauler in the running game, and he's a pretty good pass protecting tackle. So Mekhi Becton, the problem is the injuries, not his talent and not his ability. When he's on the field, he plays really well. Oh, shouldn't have drafted Zach Wilson. What a terrible draft pick. Why don't we take a quick ride down memory lane of the 2021 draft? Who went first? Trevor Lawrence. Couldn't take him. Why? Because he went before you had the draft pick. So the Jets took Zach Wilson second. Let me ask you, I'll go through the rest of the draft just through 3 rounds, folks, of quarterbacks. Tell me which one of these guys you'd rather have. Would you rather have Trey Lance right now? Does that sound really good to you? How about Justin Fields? Do you want Justin Fields on your team? Because he's doing a great fucking job. Or maybe Mac Jones. He was taken 15th overall. You want Mac Jones? Is that going to be the difference maker on the Jets right now? If we just had Mac Jones knocking somebody else in the balls, from another team, that sounds like a good idea. Why don't we take it to the second round? You know who went? This is what they should. Kyle Trask, number 64 overall in the second round. That's the guy who couldn't even beat out Baker Mayfield. What about pick number 66, Kellen Mond? Minnesota already got rid of him. He's gone. He's like the 3rd string quarterback on the Cleveland Browns right now. What about my guy, Davis Mills? He went number 67 in the 3rd round. Think everybody oh wait, he's not even starting over CJ Stroud. You think Jets fans would have been thrilled if our big pick for Joe Douglas would have been Davis Mills? People would have blown their load if Davis Mills. Oh, we're all set now. We got Davis Mills. Stop it. Joe Douglas solved your quarterback problem. His name was Aaron Rodgers, and he gave you 5 snaps, including his Achilles, okay? He solved the quarterback problem. He went out and made the move. It just didn't work out because of an injury. It's not Joe Douglas's fault. I'm telling you right now, you have one of the top 10 GMs in this league, and you're ready to run him out of town? You're morons. Anyone who says that is a moron. Look at the talent that's on this team. He's either brought it in or drafted it, and most of it was drafted. You had an offensive player of the year and offensive rookie of the year and defensive rookie of the year in the same season last year, and you want to get rid of the guy who did that? He's fucking stupid. Joe Douglas is not your problem, okay? So whoever's on that track, whether it's WFAN or whoever, shut the fuck up because he drafted Zach Wilson. Who was he supposed to draft that year?
Well done.
Stop it.
Well done. I agree. Last week, and then we get out yesterday's game too. The Packers come back. Derek Carr gets hurt, and then last night they come back at home, short week, and get their ass kicked by the Lions. Packers, I think, are just going to go through it this year. Love's getting comfortable, uncomfortable. He had a couple guys out, a couple guys in. Dude, Bakhtiari. Hang it up,
He's
bro.
always hurt,
dude. Enough, dude.
Always hurt.
If I got to see the bottom line again, Bakhtiari, IR, pup list, out 4 weeks, scope. Dude, 3-4 years in a row, this guy.
The guy never plays. This is thievery. This is just stealing money. He doesn't play at all.
And Rodgers wanted to bring him along to the Jets. For what?
I know.
To sit in the same hospital bed next year?
What I mean. You're such short-sighted thinking. You got Breece Hall on his team. Like, think of the draft picks. And you're going to tell we got to get – anyway. Yeah, no, to me, this is what Green Bay is. Like, they're a pretty good team with a quarterback who's growing, the guy's got 8 touchdown passes, 9 or 10 touchdown passes now in the season with very few interceptions. Like, it's a process with this kid. What do you think it was going to be?
Lions are good too, bro.
And the other side is the Lions are good. They kind of had their shit to bed game after they were feeling themselves after beating Kansas City. But 2 weeks in a row, the most impressive thing, more than anything, is their defense. Their defense was what got them the big lead. Obviously, they scored the points, but they kept Green Bay down. Next thing you know, it's 27-3, 24-3, 27-3. So that was the big key.
Aaron Glenn's going to get some looks if this keeps going.
Absolutely. And then the other side of it is, look, say what you want. Goff is a pretty good quarterback, man. Now, he needs help. He's not great, but he is very good. If you give him an offensive line.
Get Jameson Williams back in 2 weeks, too.
This is what I'm saying. Like, he's good. He's very good. Let's put it this way. There are more than half the teams in this league that would do better if they had Jared Goff on their team. You know, he needs help. He needs a good offensive line because he needs to be protected because he's not particularly mobile. But if you give him time, boy, he fucking finds guys, man, and he's accurate as all these nuts. Like, seriously. So he takes way too much heat. This idea that a guy who went to the Super Bowl because he didn't play well in the Super Bowl, now that means he sucks. What does that mean about the guys who don't make it? What does that mean about Justin Herbert? Does he suck? Because he hasn't gone to a Super Bowl. So Goff is a good quarterback, and he's a good leader, and he's tough. He stays in there and takes the shot when he delivers the pass a lot of times.
Yeah, I thought Kirk and Al Michaels were great last night. I thought they hit a lot of great stuff, and you know.
I saw something today that like Herb Street and Al Michaels are awkward as hell. I'm like, I don't get that feeling at all.
No, I don't either. No, I don't know
what they were talking about. So I like them both too. So I don't know.
You
gotta look and say something. Everybody's looking to say something.
I tell you, and Kirk was
doing right now.
Kirk was a recruiting gem for Michigan last night. Rashawn Gary, Aiden Hudson. Oh my God, now let's go, Kirk. Keep going, man.
Michigan players all over the place.
Mr. Ryan Day too. I don't know. Let's go. Keep it going. The Bills have looked great since losing to the Jets.
Had their little wake-up call.
Yep.
Josh Allen looks a lot better.
Does.
Dude, you know, it's funny. Once again, I have to pat us on the back. This is exactly what we said after the Jets game. And what did I say to you? Be very careful when we say Josh Allen has to cut the shit out. Be very careful. Be very careful how much you cut back. Because look at some of the touchdown passes and plays that he's had. If he's not Josh Allen, those plays don't happen. So when he's being him, that's when they're most explosive. Sometimes it blows up, and he's got to work on cutting those back. But, man, they're a fucking dangerous team. And I'll tell you one more thing, and this might come up later. Outside of a punt return for a touchdown against the Jets, this team has given up about 15 points a game.
You're right.
So their defense, even without Von Miller, shockingly enough.
And we weren't sure with McDermott, calling the plays.
100% correct.
Yeah.
100%.
Any word on Miller? Week 6? Anything on?
Well, the way the season started was he was out the first 4 games. So
this, I haven't heard a word. That's why I'm asking.
But I haven't heard anything about him definitely coming back either.
Yeah,
so
right.
Who knows? But they're not going to tell you until it's definitely time to tell you. But they have been way more impressive the weeks following that Jets game.
Just real quick,
Explosive.
the Chiefs roll. You got them Sunday night. How many times does Taylor Swift get mentioned or looked on?
Oh my
on
God!
camera?
At least. So you figure it's at least one time per quarter, probably
Every
twice
time
in the
Kelsey
fourth
does
quarter.
something, which is a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah. So every time Kelsey catches a ball, they got to go to the Taylor cam. Yeah, not interested. I probably won't even watch the game. I'll be honest with you.
Come on, that's it.
I won't. I probably won't watch the game.
Wow.
Now, if at halftime it's within 10 points, maybe I'll start.
13-10 Chiefs.
I will have picked it up by then because trust me, I'll be on the score app, so I'll know and then I'll start watching. I don't want to watch it. It's gross.
I hear you.
It's just, dude, it's so tough to watch, man. It's tough to watch.
Listen, I've been there. You know that.
Tough to watch.
Cowboys, Ravens, Falcons, first loss of the year. I thought the Cowboys looked terrible.
Terrible.
I thought the Falcons looked terrible. And I thought the Ravens. I thought the Ravens. I think they're banged up all over the place, so I give them a little bit in the pouring rain. But you can't lose to Gardner Minshew at home.
I was going to say it was raining for the other team too, and the Colts are bad.
Right.
So that's a horrible loss.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, folks, but Lamar looks average. The numbers are way below average.
Still can't throw.
And the one thing he can still do is run, and they don't want him to run. But when he does, good God, is it electric? I mean, it's just like it's unlike anybody else.
We'll see how long that's going to last if they keep losing games without him running. Yeah, we'll see.
Well, this is exactly it, right? Like what? They're 2-1 now. Are they 2-1?
Yeah.
So in the end, you got to win games, man. It doesn't matter. And what did I say from the beginning? The whole Todd Monken thing that they're doing. He's gonna throw the ball. He's averaging like 150 passing yards a game, dude. Like that's not gonna cut it in this NFL. So we'll see how long that lasts.
Better 3-0 team. Niners, Eagles, Dolphins.
I'm going to say the Niners. I think they're the most complete top to bottom, start to finish. Miami is without question the most explosive offense in the league. But I question their defense. Let's not forget week 1, they gave up 30-something points to the Chargers. So I don't think that defense is particularly good. I'm still I still don't know about Philly right now. They're good. I'm not saying they're not good. They're a very good team.
Well, that's the best case scenario. You're 3-0 and you still don't. They still haven't figured it out.
Yeah, I agree totally.
Yeah.
I agree totally. Yeah. This is not the same team we watched last year, though.
I agree.
Now, again, they lost both their coordinators.
And also trying to figure out. I think Hurts not as running as much too,
but now even his throwing is not great. Although he made one just gorgeous fucking pass, touchdown. No, he stepped up and threw it, and the guy was doing it deep in, but Hurts threw it a little deeper, and he
I know what you're talking about.
Touchdown.
Yeah,
God, it was gorgeous. It was right out of the reach of it was a beautiful, beautiful pass. So
and they got a better run game
and they look good
than they had last year, and they're still like he's not throwing it great.
So here's the thing with the Eagles: they're not quite what they were last year, but what they do like they did last year is they dominate the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. They still have a very good offensive line, and that's why they run the ball as well as they do. And they still have a fucking really good defensive line, which is why they put pressure on the quarterback, like constantly putting pressure on the quarterback. So, and in the end, that's why they're winning these games, even though they don't look as like fantastic as they did last year, is because they're just dominating the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. It's huge. You know what's so funny, dude, is we talk all this stuff: quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, D-back, blah blah blah. It still comes down to the line of scrimmage. You got to be able to win the line of scrimmage, man. Period.
Week 4 preview. Let's start there.
Mm-hmm.
Washington at Philly.
Washington was a little bit of a disappointment last week.
Holy Christ.
Sam Howell played bad. That's clearly the worst game he's played so far, and he had been playing pretty good up until that point. So, who are they playing again?
The Eagles.
Yeah, this is a really tough spot. I mean, I would expect him to play better. I don't expect him to throw 4 fucking interceptions like he did last week. But this is tough. Is it in Washington or at Philly?
Philly.
Yeah, no bueno. But I will say this is a problem for the Eagles because the one thing that Washington does have is a really strong defensive line. So I don't know that you're going to bully them around like you have the other teams in the first few games of the season. But I suspect they'll still win the game.
Dolphins at Bills.
This is, to me, the most intriguing game of the week. As I mentioned before, there's the obvious side of it is that Miami can score just at will. I hear words like revolutionary, changing the game. Folks, Mike McDaniel is not changing the game. He's not doing anything that nobody's seen before. He's got 2 wide receivers that run 4.25 40s. Nobody can cover him. We know who the number 1 guy is on the field, Tyreek Hill, and he still finds a way to get buck-ass open. It ain't because it's some magic trick. Like they've got cloaking devices, and where is he? I can't find him.
Close your eyes, I'm going to count to 5.
What's
right?
that?
Like that. Like close your eyes, I'm going to count to 5. Like that. Yeah.
You know, it's not like he hasn't changed the game. It's just him and Waddle are just too fast. They're too fast. And they do have a good offensive line, so they have a strong running game. So now you're going to put together 2 of the fastest wide receivers in the league, and now you get to run play action? Bro, it's tough. It's tough. Because where are most of these catches being made? Over the middle. You fake the play action, linebackers have to step up, and now the middle is gutted. And then the other side of it is safeties and corners have to play way off, or else they're just going to go right by you.
Back, I know.
So you're getting an extra 5-yard cushion because of the play action and an extra 5-yard cushion deep because these guys are so fast. And they look wide open. It's not because it's unbelievable play design. No. It's because the guy's the fastest player in the history of the NFL.
Well, I give him credit for stacking his team with speed, dog.
Absolutely. Yeah, that goes on the GM. Like, Tua looks good, but like I still say, like, you could probably name 10 guys you would take into Kirk Cousins wouldn't do good in this offense right now. You know what I'm saying?
Easy,
Nobody.
Easy. I got Tua in fantasy. Easy. I like him right now.
I'm just saying, like, Kirk Cousins would do great in this offense.
Big one in the AFC North. Ravens at Browns.
I'm going to give you a statistic.
We're going to find out a lot about both these teams. I'm sorry. We're going to find out about something in this game here.
You're absolutely right. Because of this statistic. I can't even believe what I'm about to tell you. They played 3 games so far in the NFL. The Cleveland defense has played 5 snaps in their own red zone. Not series, 5 snaps. That means they don't let you get into the red zone at all. In 3 games, 5 plays, that's basically 1 series have gotten into the red zone. It's insane. This defense is so good. They get after the quarterback. They got 2 shutdown corners.
Yep.
They're physical as shit. Good linebackers. This is a really tough spot for Baltimore. I think they got a couple guys coming off injury, especially on the offensive line, so that should help. And to your point before, don't try to like put a square peg into a round hole. You got the best running quarterback maybe in the history of the league. Just let him do what he does, folks. Let him do what he does. That's what it's his ability to run, which makes him a better passer.
Right. Because
now you have to commit 1 guy or sometimes 2 guys to spying him, and now you're left with one-on-one or zone behind it, and there's wide open areas in the zone because you got guys committed to his run. So use him. It is what it is, folks. He's not Tom Brady. He's not Justin Herbert. Let him run. Why are you trying to – this is what you got him for. What did you get him for if not to let him run? So if they do that, it could be interesting. It could be really interesting. And I think you're right that they might.
I wrote this one down because I think they're both 2-1, but they're not impressive. And now I think there's shit going on one team. And Tampa Bay at New Orleans.
Yeah.
Baker's looked like Baker on Monday night.
Yeah.
Terrible. Carr went down. He's week to week with an AC joint sprain, which is painful. And weird that's only week to week. Winston's terrible. James is still terrible. Look, I don't know if you give him a week of practice, he might be better. A little better, I'll give you, but he's not going to split the atom.
I have to interrupt you. We just got a comment on our live feed from Mike Cohen of Sports Talk Nation, commenting on the Jets game. He said Taylor Swift will sack Zach Wilson. She might, and seems like everybody's capable of it, so I wouldn't be surprised at all. Yeah, you're right. This is a weird game because Tampa kind of exposed themselves as a little bit of a fraud last week against Philly. It made it look like those first 2 games that they won, well, they kind of got outplayed by Minnesota and still won the game. And then what was the other game that they won? Who else did they beat?
Chicago, fucking Fields.
Yeah, and Chicago's Chicago. So it's like, we looked at that and it said, oh, they're 2-0. But now you look back, you're like, they beat 2 teams that still haven't won a game combined. So that 2-0 start seems a little fraudulent. But on the other side, to your point, probably not going to see Derek Carr, and Jameis Winston is a turnover machine. So I don't know what you're going to get there. What I do know is that the New Orleans defense is probably the best unit on the field. So we'll see if that's enough. You certainly can't trust Jameis. I mean, nobody's trusting Jameis.
No.
He can make a lot of big plays, but then he can make such bad turnovers.
One more thing for me with this game. I've had it with the Taysom Hill shit.
Yeah, it's played out. It's over. It's done.
And you don't even have Sean Payton there anymore. Like, so it's not even you have the genius behind the wheel anymore.
Right,
like,
right.
I don't know.
I'm with you on that. It doesn't seem to phase anybody anymore.
No, you know
he's older. He's older now, so.
New England at Dallas.
Yeah, I think this is a really fascinating game. I had mentioned earlier when we were talking about college football that I love teams. I love high-level teams. I'll call them elite teams. I just mean like very good teams, top-tier teams. If they get embarrassed, if they play so poorly and it's embarrassing, I kind of like them the next week. They're not one of my picks, but they were almost one of my picks. I think Dallas comes back and plays really, really well. I know they lost Diggs, and I know that's a pain in the ass for them. That's not why they lost last week.
No, they got the ball ran down their throat.
They got the ball ran right down their throat, and they didn't do shit offensively. And I just think they come back at home, Mac Jones. You think they can get some pressure on Mac Jones and get him to cough it up a couple times?
Yeah.
This is the same team that the first 2 weeks of the season just absolutely annihilated their competition at home. I don't know that they're going to do that because I can't imagine a Belichick team just getting the smackdown like that. But I suspect Dallas comes back and plays really, really well this week.
One more.
This is the 1 week that you don't necessarily need the great corners because they don't have a great quarterback or great receivers. So I think they'll be okay.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Seattle at the New York Giants.
The Giants. They're not good. And Geno is back at it again, dude. After a rough start in game one, Geno is back at it again, like back-to-back weeks, almost 70% completion percentage. If anybody, when we were asking, can he do it again? He's showing that he's very capable of doing it again. So, where's this game?
The Meadowlands.
Yeah, it makes it a little tougher. Anytime I always get nervous with West Coast teams coming east, especially if it's at 1 o'clock. Is it a 1 o'clock start?
It's a Monday nighter.
Oh, it's a Monday nighter. That definitely helps. You get the extra day too.
Yep.
So, yeah. Giants are just not great. Giants are just not a great football team in general. Daniel Jones kind of went back to being Daniel Jones, and they're just not that great.
And Barkley being out, like it's just their team's a lot different. Waller's been. Where's Waller been? There's a reason why the Raiders gave him up for a bag of peanuts, folks.
It's always the case, right? You got to be careful about teams willing to give up on somebody. It kind of usually says something.
I got props to give out.
Let's hear it.
Two gentlemen. Me and you have been very hard on these guys. We were very unsure, and through 3 weeks, I like what I've seen. That would be the Cardinals head coach, Jonathan Gannon, and the Colts head coach, Shane Steichen. These were the two coordinators from Philly who we were very critical of and not sure of the hires. Gannon's got the Cardinals playing their balls off for a team that wants to wave the white flag and tank for Caleb Williams. They have not, dude. They should have beat the Giants. They beat the Cowboys going away.
You mean Cardinals? The Cardinals.
I'm sorry. What did I say?
I thought you said the Colts.
No, the Cardinals. I'm sorry. Cardinals, they beat the Cowboys and going away.
And I'm with you on that particular one. I was thinking about this when I was prepping for today's podcast. You can make a real fair argument that Cardinals should be 3-0.
I definitely agree with you.
They were winning all 3 games going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Like all 3 games. They were beating Washington in the fourth quarter. They were beating the Giants going into the fourth quarter. And obviously they end up winning the game against the Cowboys. Holy shit, dude. Yeah, they're doing a great job. And on top of that, we were kind of giving them shit about that very strange, I don't know if it was a pregame or some kind of weird thing that Gannon did, or you know what I'm talking about?
No.
He had some kind of like locker room rant or whatever the fuck it was. It was just really odd.
Oh, I missed it.
Oh, it was just a bad look. But it kind of, now I look back and it kind of has a Dan Campbell feel because maybe it played really, really well in the room and it just didn't play really well on television. You know what I'm saying? Dude, that's absolutely both. Like, it's crazy when you think of it. We were talking about this team being maybe the worst team in the league.
Yep.
And there's a real easy argument to be made for them being 3-0 right now.
Yep. And for Steichen, no one really knew what the hell's going on with Anthony Richardson. Guy comes in, he looks like a more poised Cam Newton. Randall Cunningham, guy's enormous. They're winning games. Then he gets hurt. Then Gardner Minshew comes in and wins at Baltimore.
Incredible.
I listen. You got to tip your hat sometimes, man. And I am doing that today to these two guys. I don't know how long it lasts, but they have their teams prepared, bro. And
what's funny about it is that the defensive coordinator is the one who goes to the Cardinals, and their offense looks really good.
Yeah.
And the offensive coordinator went to the Colts, and the Colts defense looks really good. Like, the Colts defense is what's been keeping them in games. Like that.
Yes.
They played fantastic against Baltimore. Like, so I agree with you, man. Two young guys, I can only assume, like, very relatable to the players. Players seem to like both of them. They're certainly responding.
Yeah.
And this is why sometimes, like, I'll turn it to, like, say, Chicago, just move on. Move on from Eberflus after this year. Because you just look and you say, oh, that's what happens when the connection is made. Are they more talented than Chicago? Chicago brought in a bunch of new players this year, and they still suck. So,
Yeah, the DJ Moore, Jerry Rice edition. Where's he been?
Yeah. He's a number one receiver.
And I'm not,
a number 30 quarterback.
DJ Moore. I'm not blaming DJ Moore. You know where we're going. Yeah.
No. Of course not.
Would you like to gamble, sir?
I would love to. I have some music for this.
A red hot Pete Calisano.
Ooh. On fire, the easy way. Oh, well, I thought it was the easy way, but Utah was close. But the rest of them really were kind of easy.
My first game, I'm going to the new Big 12.
Ooh.
And the UFC Golden Knights.
Look at this. Wow.
Are laying 11.5 points at home.
Digging deep into the book.
Against Baylor. Baylor has looked horrendous.
Ooh, bad. Yeah.
We like their coach. Oh, this year not so much. They lost their starting quarterback.
I like his hair, though.
Yeah, right back with you, brother. Dave Aranda. UCF's no joke. They haven't been for a long time. They've had coaches coming through there like friggin' shit through a goose, and they're still pretty good. Baylor's a mess. At home, I think UCF wins this game probably like 20, 25 points.
Yeah, UCF, if nothing else, they usually put a shitload of points on the board.
Yeah.
So I suspect you're right. I like that one a lot. I had some trouble. I had 4 teams that I had to narrow it down because I kind of think USC is going to win. I like the Duke, I said before. But my first pick, Washington played Cal last week. And I watched the game because I wanted to see Washington. And Washington is friggin' good. But Cal is not bad. And Cal also has a quarterback who's pretty goddamn good. His name is Finley. He's got a friggin' hose for an arm. Cal's playing Arizona State at Cal. Arizona State played USC last week. Put up a pretty good fight for a while. They looked okay. They played tough. But in the end, they got beat pretty handily. I think they kind of blew their load at home against USC. I think they go on the road at Cal and just get their doors blown off. Give me the Cal Bears, Aaron Rodgers' hometown, minus 12.5 over Arizona State. I like the Sun Devils, too. I've always been a Sun Devils fan, but they're going to get smoked this week.
And the home of Jared Goff, too.
Yeah, if you get a chance, watch that game. This kid Finley for Cal is really pretty good. Dude, the Pac-12 is loaded with
do I find it somewhere? Do I have to order fucking something to get the game?
I have a streaming service. And,
well, so do I, but
it's there.
All right, this game's very sneaky.
Oh, boy. Fishy.
I had tough time. I had a tough time this week as well. The Michigan State Spartans travel to Iowa.
This is a team in disarray.
Iowa both teams are in disarray.
Now they are, yeah.
Iowa at night is tough.
True.
But playing Michigan State, who has no juice,
none.
I think this is going to be like a slow burn, like a candle. You just light the candle, you walk away. This game's going to be brutal.
What's the over and under? 26.5?
It might be.
I'll take the under.
But if you give me 12.5 with Michigan State, I'll take it.
Ooh, wow.
10 points might cover this game.
Wow, you're ballsy.
Just give me the Spartans. Although it's a nightmare over there now.
It's a nightmare.
Give me the Spartans plus 12.5 at Iowa. I don't love it, but have you seen Iowa's offense? Neither has anybody else. So there you go.
Putrid. I told you that I watched Washington last week. I actually think, and I can't take credit for this statement, but I think it's right. I saw Joel Klatt say this week. He said that Washington is the most dangerous team in the country. Not the best team, the most dangerous team. Because if you sleep on them for a second, I don't care if you're USC or any SEC team, Georgia, Michigan, if you sleep at all on Washington, you're going to get your fucking ass handed to you, bro. They can score from anywhere on the field at any time at will. Michael Penix, these wide receivers, and their defense isn't even bad. They're playing a horrible Arizona team this week. Now, I don't even know where the game is. I got a feeling it might even be on the road. I don't care. Washington can score at will. Give me Washington minus 15.5 against Arizona Wildcats. This is a really good – dude, the Pac-12 is loaded. For a conference, you got to look and say, how does a conference that isn't going to exist in a year, how did they recruit so many good goddamn players?
I know.
It's insane.
And what took them so long to show up?
It's fucking nuts. It's fucking nuts.
To the NFL we go?
You think they're having, like, second thoughts? Like, maybe we shouldn't do this.
Yeah, the money talked already.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I am going to over the pond. I'm going to London. 9:30 kick.
You'll have a winner by noon.
I hope so.
Right.
The Jaguars looked absolutely like dog shit last week. At home against the Texans. Very weird. Something's off with Lawrence. I think their run game shit. ETN's not as great as I thought he was.
The offensive line.
Offensive line's not good.
Below average offensive line.
They got to get that ball out like they did week 1 against Indianapolis. Get that ball out. Get him to Ridley. Get him to Ingram. Get him to your playmakers. I think Atlanta's an overrated 2-1. Ritter stinks. I'm shocked that this line's only 3. Jacksonville's basically in a home game now in London. They're playing back-to-back weeks there. Give me Jacksonville minus 3 against the Falcons.
Yeah, so as I said earlier, like nobody is as good or as bad as their last game. You know, everybody looked at the first game that the Bills played the Jets with no Aaron Rodgers and they lost. And they're like, oh, see, this team is falling apart. They're not the team they used to be. And then 2 weeks in a row now, they just shit on their opponents. And they're playing against Miami, who, you know, had a great win against the Chargers in a high-scoring affair, had a nice win, a nice kind of like low-key win against New England, only scoring 24 points. And then obviously the 70-point blowout this week. They're not as good as the 70-point win. Buffalo's obviously not as bad as the loss to the Jets, which was ugly and hideous. If you take out the punt return for a touchdown in overtime against the Jets, the Bills defense is averaging giving up about 15 points a game, dude. This is a real defense. This is no nonsense. Give me the Bills minus 2.5 against Miami. I think this is a really tough spot. I think Miami's kind of feeling their balls a little bit after this big win at home, and now they got to go play at Buffalo. Everybody's jacking them off a little bit, and Buffalo has kind of got this like, what the hell feeling. We're still the cream of the crop here. I like the Bills minus 2.5 against Miami.
Playing Buffalo in October is better than playing them in December. I'll just say that right now.
Hell yeah.
All right. Monday Night Football, Giants and Seattle. I can't believe I'm doing this. Something tells me the Giants, this is the Giants season. Because they have Seattle at home, and then they play Miami and Buffalo on the road, and back-to-back weeks after that. I think they are looking 1-5.
Yeah, they also called back-to-back losses.
This is a must-win for the Giants. I don't know how the fuck they do it, especially if Barkley doesn't play. I don't know what the hell they're going to do. Geno's coming in hot. Receivers galore. Run game's good. Pete Carroll chewing his gum, throwing it at refs.
700 pieces a game.
Somehow, the Giants get out of there with a win. Give me the Giants plus 1.5 at home against Seattle.
Listen, you're right, though. On average, most of the time, West Coast teams just have a hard time coming east. It just is what it is. You know, unless it's like a great team.
Look at the Bronco game last week.
Yeah, it's just really tough. I really wanted to go with Dallas, and I do really like Dallas against the Pats this week, but that's not my pick. When I saw some of the statistics by this Cleveland defense, and Deshaun Watson finally started to play a little better last week outside of one absolutely bizarre, bananas, crazy play where he threw the ball backwards like 30 yards, whatever the hell. He's starting to look a little better. He's at the very least competent now, and they run the ball really well. And that defense is it very well might be the best defense in the league. And if there's one thing that Baltimore has struggled with, it's offense. I think this is a really tough spot for Baltimore. Give me Cleveland minus the 1.5 against Baltimore.
I like it. I like that a lot.
So my two college picks are Cal minus 12.5 against Arizona State and Duke plus. I'm sorry, that was Duke plus 5.5. I thought they were favored by 5.5. So everything I said about them being favored was wrong.
You didn't even take Duke, by the way. You jerk off. You took fucking Washington.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, why? Yeah, but take Duke anyway. Washington minus 15.5 against Arizona. And my two NFL games are the Bills minus 2.5 against Miami and Cleveland minus 1.5 against Baltimore.
It's Friday.
5-0.
It's Friday
5-0
today. Holy Christ.
Damn.
My bets are in college.
We didn't even get the trivia yet. I'm really screwed.
Central Florida minus 11.5 versus Baylor. Michigan State plus 12.5 at Iowa. The Jaguars minus 3 in London against the Falcons. And the Giants plus 1.5 at the Meadowlands against the Seahawks.
I tell you what, man, you're going to need a wheelbarrow to carry your balls this week with some of these picks that you have. Like, these are some ballsy picks, which means you're going to go 3-1. So, no problem.
You want to do trivia? Or you want to do my Ryder Cup stuff first?
I don't want to do trivia, but go ahead. Give me some. Let's do trivia, and then we can do quick Ryder Cup. I got the music going. Anyway.
Yeah, because it's quick. Ryder Cup's quick. Trivia.
Yeah, we'll get the pain.
We went with the Ryder Cup theme today.
Now I'm really screwed. Let's go back to the Ryder Cup coverage.
Who was the most successful tandem in Ryder Cup history? Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson, Jack Nicklaus and Tom Watson, Seve Ballesteros and Jose Maria Olazabal.
Those are my three?
Those are your three.
I'm going to go with the Jack Nicklaus pairing.
You would be wrong. It's Ballesteros and Olazabal.
Of course it is. I'm trying to be quicker this week. When I marinate on them, I screw it all up and make myself look
Who has been captain the most times? Davis Love III, Sam Snead, Walter Hagen, Tom Watson.
Oh, boy. I'm going to say Tom Watson.
You'd be incorrect. That'd be Walter Hagen.
Jesus Christ. Why do I do this?
In 1951, the Ryder Cup was not played on consecutive days. Why wasn't it?
Played on consecutive days.
Why was it not? A college football game, a hurricane, or storms did damage to the course?
You know, college football games sound so absurd, but maybe it was like Army Notre Dame or Navy Notre Dame or something like that. Like Roger Staubach or I don't know, like fucking Red Grange. I don't even know. It sounds so absurd that I'm going to go with college football game.
You, my friend, are correct. Good job.
Yes.
Tennessee beat North Carolina 27-0. Somebody had the game. Somebody had the golf stopped and go to the game. They don't know who it was, but it worked out that way.
I was going to say I got the damn game wrong, but yeah, that's great. That's pretty crazy. You imagine that?
Right.
Dude, I think that's the first one I got right in 3 weeks.
It's probably correct.
I'm not even kidding. I think it's the first one I got right in 3 weeks.
And you just do shit against the wall because you love college football. That's great. I thought that was a great trivia question too, right?
Yeah, no, it was great. And the only reason I picked it, I'm like, at this one, I'm just taking the one that seems the most ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that ends up being it, which is crazy.
Ryder Cup 2023, they're underway today, and we are not off to a good start.
Already
we are getting our ass kicked.
Yep.
They're playing Marco Simone Country Club in Italy.
Do you have a score or standing as it is right now?
They were losing 4-0 when I saw. I don't know what the afternoon
6.5,
is.
1.5.
Oh, was it? Oh, yeah.
That's 1.5 last I saw.
They're in a gully already.
Yeah, not going.
It's been 30 years since America won on European soil. Make that 31.
30, yeah. Or 34. It'll be
34, right? Or 33 because they had the COVID year, so it's like a rude cut out of whatever it is.
Yeah, something like that.
The TV schedule is not ideal. What, 1 a.m., 12:30?
Well, I was going to say, I always enjoy, because I'm an early riser. I'm usually up at like 4:50 in the morning, even on weekends because I can't help it.
Because I'm up at fucking 9.
Well, I'm older now. So if you enjoy getting up first thing in the morning, like early in the morning, and watching, the British Open or something like that, because that is kind of fun. Like your first thing in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, you're watching the British Open with a cup of coffee. It's kind of neat. Then yeah, this is kind of fun. But what sucks is that if you get up any later than that, you've already missed half, and by noon it's over. So it's tough. It's tough scheduling. It is.
I DVR'd it and I'm watching it now. The
nice.
first group's on the 11th hole. I was gonna DVR the whole weekend. There's no fucking way. I don't have that kind of time to watch all that
when
shit.
When would you do it?
So it's like.
Plus, with all the apps and notifications and all this shit, you're gonna end up finding out what the hell happened anyway. And it's like, why bother now?
Yep, exactly.
I love when, think back in your life with girlfriends who weren't necessarily that much into sports, and you're like, there was a day where you're like, oh shit, I can't go do that because the game is on, and they go, oh, why don't you just record it and watch it later? Because you're the dumbest dumb person ever, and it's not the same. Come on. Why do
I have to shut my phone off literally to do it between buddies and fucking alerts and everything. It's like, it's impossible.
Unless what you want to do is under a rock with no cell signal, it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
It's not going to work out.
Exactly.
You find yourself a girl who likes football, which works out nicely. But it'll be fun to watch. Don't be surprised if USA makes a little run. They got some mega firepower on that side of the ball, so it's not over.
So does Europe.
Sure, for sure. 116 in the books. Another great one. Hey, great weekend of sports. Like we said, Ryder Cup, college football, NFL. There's so many teams that are on the cusp that we're looking at already and saying there's their season over. We didn't even mention Minnesota. Minnesota lost, so now is their season over. So then, of course, the Kirk Cousins, should he be traded, talk start. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. We didn't even mention Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow found a way to win the game basically on one leg. That can't even move anymore.
Oh, yeah. That's
like ass in the first half.
That's not going to be good, by the way, dude.
So there's only more of that coming this weekend. So enjoy all the sports. For Scott Bracey, I'm Pete Colasano. You've been listening to Bump and Run. We'll catch you guys next week.
Later.
All righty. Sounds good. I will. I'm gonna get right to this right now, actually. So I'll get to see you ASAP.
All right, brother. Sounds good, man.
All right, my man.
All right,
Talk to you later.
Later.